Before we start, a few logistical details to avoid any sound issues. You are all on mute. If for any reasons you're not, please select the option on your phone. Also, for privacy purposes, all attendees' names are hidden and you will not be able to see anyone else but you. For questions, you'll be able to ask them at the end during our Q&A via the chat box on your screen. Today, we will demonstrate how to deliver successful transitions in a challenging environment, and we will demonstrate the advantage of one of our tools called Cutover. The presentation will be delivered by Robbie Batty, new Business Sales Manager, and Paul Towner, Consultant Project Manager. Please welcome Robbie Batty.
Thank you, Hannah. Good afternoon, everyone, and a Happy New Year. Today, we will give you an understanding of the Capita IT Professional Services proven ICT transition methodology. As part of our methodology, we use a specialist tool called Cutover to support the delivery of ICT transitions. And as part of this webinar, we will give a short demonstration of the capabilities of Cutover to help deliver a successful ICT transition. Then to wrap up, we will make you aware of our flexible engagement offering. For information, we don't just deliver ICT transitions, we have successfully delivered business transitions and service transitions. So that we are all on the same page, we describe an ICT transition as the process to effectively cut over all process, system and data elements of an updated IT system into live IT operation. I will give people a couple of minutes to read and digest the rest of the slide. It can be challenging transitioning ICT projects as modern IT systems are complex and the business needs agility when deploying. The key is doing this effectively, and Capita IT Professional Services ICT Transition Service has been developed to overcome the challenges. The high-level activities for an ICT transition are summarized on the slide. So in effect, the ICT transition interacts with the business teams, operation teams, and the data they process. The business activities involve stopping the business, which is generally decided by the executive in a go, no-go meeting. Supporting that decision, there will be comms required for the people and teams involved in the transition. And once the transition is complete, the executive will decide if the business can start up again. In parallel, data transactions will need to be stopped and all data brought to rest, which will allow backups to be taken before kicking off the ETL processing. Then on completing the ETL, the migrated data is validated. And finally, in parallel, operations will power down old world systems and interfaces, and interfaces will then be reconnected to new world systems, enabling validation of new world operations. No ICT transition is the same, and our service will be tailored to your requirements. We have been engaged in many complex ICT transitions, and as part of our planning, some factors we have had to consider are, we had one situation where we had to transition 4 ERPs into one system. Another scenario, we had to transition 4,500 end users, and at the same time, we had to plan the transition involving 3 UK sites. Another engagement, we had to plan for 150 cutover personnel. And for most of our transitions, we have had to handle detailed audit requirements. On this slide, we are summarizing the typical stages of an ICT project, which are design, build, test, and transition. The diamond represents the transition stage, which is the last formal stage before go live. For many projects, it is an after performing the transition, and what we do by engaging with yourselves is manage the risk around the transition by running it as a project with the stages mentioned. Our ICT transition service involves planning, a number of rehearsals, execution of the transition, and then post-go-live monitoring. To perform the ICT transition, we need all testing completed, clean data signed off by the business teams, a change freeze in place, and the business to be ready. Completing those prerequisite activities means we lock the project and then conduct the transition stage. Then during transition, we define and agree a plan. We rehearse that plan a number of times, making improvements where necessary, and we then perform the transition. And then post-transition, the service will go into live support and transition moves into BAU, where it is monitored. Okay, now I'm going to hand over to Paul, who's going to demonstrate cutover.
Good afternoon, everybody. Cutover is a tool of choice for the capital transition team within IT professional services. It is a cloud-based SaaS project management tool providing an intuitive, simple method of planning and orchestrating any time-bound project. It allows highly collaborative, real-time planning with client and vendor teams worldwide and is designed to replace the spreadsheets and other ad hoc planning tools currently used. It's currently used in the highly regulated banking sector and is actively used in a large London local authority. It has successfully transitioned several critical time-sensitive projects, including, as previously mentioned, a major greetings card manufacturer, their migration of 4 legacy ERP solutions into one. The white paper for that is available on the Capita ITPS website. Uniquely, it has the capability of embedded comms. Pre-canned communications can be built into the plan, and these can include pre-worded emails, SMS texts to notify participants of their tasks, and conference calls can be arranged or organized at key stages of the plan. So let's have a look at its capabilities. On your screen now, you can see a start of a run book for making a cup of tea. Well, cup of tea. The simplicity is either adding a task. Let's add a task on this one for, let's say, select coffee. Break it spell. And once we've created that task, we can edit it. We can see the task type. It is a normal task. The default setting for duration is an hour. It's not going to take an hour to select the tea bags. For, say, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or 2 minutes. The work stream. Because we can have different streams or multiple streams, we can say it's not the project work stream, it will be the kitchen work stream. A level 3 task. We can add a description if required, or we can refer to standard operating procedures, documentation, or anything relevant. The timing details. By default, because we selected the task following the tea bags task was at 11:38, scheduled for 1 minute. It defaults to 1 minute straight after 11:39. Forecast end is, at the moment, it's 1 hour. We're going to change that. We're going to 2 minutes. We can assign teams and users. So for the sake of this one, I'll assign myself. If there are any dependencies, we can enter them here. At the moment, the dependency is task number 20, which is the select tea bags. And in the advanced settings, we can choose or select that anyone can start or define who can finish the task. And once we've done all this, we click on the save, and there's your task. We can see from the side there are 2 work streams. If we want to see individual work streams, summarize what they are doing, we can see what the project work stream are doing. And then in conjunction with the kitchen work stream, we can see how it is chronologically, or we can see just how the kitchen work stream have carried out their task. So moving on from this. This is creating the plan from scratch, which is the ideal solution. However, there might be periods where you come into a project or a program where it's being carried out and they've been using Microsoft Project. This isn't a problem. If we get a Microsoft Office project, we can break it down, see where it's time-bound, see its dependencies. We wouldn't be working from scratch. We have this information. However, from this information, we can create a CSV file, which has task IDs, titles, descriptions, which streams, work streams they're in, any predecessors, the planned fixed dates, if they're fixed, planned fixed times, and their durations. And from that, we can create the project plan. And as you can see, there are multiple work streams here. We can see individual work streams if we want. We can see how they all fit in with other work streams chronologically, or we can see how it looks in its completeness. So moving on from that, we'll go into an active live rehearsal, which has been set to run today. We can see the tasks are being run, some tasks have all been completed, and there's currently a task, the AAG confirm task is currently running. So if that has been assigned to me, and I've completed that task, I log on to this website, we click, and we say that the task has been achieved. It then naturally says the next task can start. That is assigned to another team, however, I can be in that team, and I can say it's started. On the right, you can see the descriptions, and as you can see in the bottom right-hand side of the screen, I've just received an email. The bonging on my telephone was to say that I've got an SMS text to say that this task can start. It's scheduled to start and take 15 minutes. We can see the description of exactly what needs to be carried out. We can see the timing details. We can see who it's assigned to. Over on the left-hand side, this is where we get the visualization from the stakeholders. We have a live dashboard. And from here, we can see that out of all the tasks, we've got 12 complete, 36 are running late. We can see the heat map of where we are, where it was scheduled to finish, and where it's now going to finish. How many tasks are in progress for the primary stream, and in the regression plan, which is the secondary stream. Following on from the live dashboard, we've got the post-event black box of records. And this is provided to enable the audit trail for regulators, and you can use it for analysis of any rehearsal, and it can be used post the event for any lessons learned. So if we go back to the tasks, if I was to finish that task again, we can now look at the durations. If at any time during the runbook rehearsal, we could pause the runbook, pause the run, and if necessary, we can have a task here, or we can edit this task. And then once we've edited the task, we can start the runbook again. So it is real-time, agile planning. If I can pass you back over to Robbie.
Thanks very much, Paul. So to summarise the components of Cutover, what it gives you is enterprise visibility. There are integrated communications. You get instantaneous status, super simple planning, and an audit history. By using the Capita IT Professional Services transition powered by Cutover, example benefits we've seen on engagement are the following. Better control. All parties understand in real time what they and others are doing. A reduction in risk. So the emphasis on preparing through learning and rehearsal means risk is taken out of a live run. Confidence in delivery. So stakeholders are able to assure themselves that appropriate accountability, compliance and governance is in place. And our final example, increased economy. Reduced costs are achieved by less key resources required to plan and orchestrate critical events, which also, alongside, are seeing a reduction in risk of regulatory penalties. So working with our customers, we have developed and then delivered successfully engagements to meet their bespoke requirements. We can manage and execute the transition stage end-to-end using our processes, tools and people. We can orchestrate the transition stage, bringing your plans to life in combination with our services. And please note, we have a commercial agreement in place with Cutover, so where we can provide various flavours of professional services to help you use the product. And on that note, that ends the presentation and the demonstration. Thank you for listening. Over to you, Hannah.
Thank you very much, Robbie, and thank you very much to Paul for their time today. Now we're going to take a few questions from the audience. So our first question is, do you only work on ICT transitions? You mentioned other options are the start.
Thanks, Hannah. I can take that one. Once we focused on ICT transitions following IT projects and programs, it does, and the tool does lend itself to other time-critical events. For example, data center moves, if you had disaster recovery tests or regular ICT releases, Cutover can create a reusable template which can be modified, amended, and used time and time again. I mean, outside of this, it can be used for business change, building moves and openings, mergers, acquisitions, and if you really wanted to, even the launch of a ship.
Brilliant, thank you, Paul. And question number 2, can you give an example of IT transition projects you've worked on?
I could take that one again. Yeah, we could give several examples. We use Cutover for a significant data migration for a large public transport body, for a major MOD transformation program. That physically, it involved physical data moves for, from several external locations from different vendors, and that was all orchestrated. Yeah, for the previously mentioned ERP replacement program, that was at a large greetings card retailer. And as to be said, the ICT head there, he actually cited that, the transition to live was the smoothest and softest landing that they've ever had using this tool. I mean, currently, we're building the Cutover plan for a large London borough, and it's their ICT and service business transformation program. And Cutover themselves, they use the tool extensively with a number of global banks, where the main interest is their interest is the traceability and audit capabilities for the regulators.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. You've talked a lot about the Cutover tool, but what value do Capita add to the proposition?
Okay, we ran our first transition using Cutover back in 2014. So we have the experience of closely working in partnership with Cutover, since their initial release of their version 1. And throughout this, I guess we managed to develop a number of approaches to building transition plans using the tool, and that's been built in-house. As probably previously mentioned, we can take full responsibility for building customers' transition plans from scratch and then orchestrate it as a service, or take existing plans, templates, bring them to life in Cutover through our historic knowledge of uploading, and then using and enhancing it by making best use of its unique features. I mean, if a company or a customer wanted to use the tool independently, we can provide training, coaching, along with access to some of our accelerators. And as I mentioned, we work in partnership with Cutover. Whatever the model, and attend to regular user groups. I mean, this helps to continually, improve. We learn how other customers are using the Cutover tool. We get, input on future development plans for the product. So we the focus groups, it's a give and take situation. So we give advice, they give advice, and it can lead to the further development and enhancement of the tool.
Lovely. I have another question. Bear with me, there's a few coming through. So is the cutover tool SaaS or is it self-hosted?
It's a cloud-based software as a solution product. All we need to do is maintain licenses and assign people and users. They will be given invites. They log in to this cloud-based tool, and it's operated wherever you like worldwide.
And another question, is this technique in use in other capital service areas such as capital ITES and capital LGS, etc.?
It's been tried and tested with the ITPS tower within Capita. However, it can be made available throughout Capita. As we said, the beauty of this tool, it can be used for any time-bound program or project. So it's not just ICT transition.
Lovely. And our final question for today is, what is the benefit of using this tool over MS Project?
MS Project is a versioned document, unless you've all got the enterprise version. The beauty about this tool, it's one plan, one single source of information, one source of amendment, and one single source of truth. There can be many versions of Microsoft Project Plan. It can be, I wouldn't like to say what can happen in different companies, but it can be corrupted. An amendment to the plan can throw out all sorts of dependencies. And through history, we would use Microsoft Project Plan in the leading up to the transition, but we still use Cutover as the definitive live plan for transition.
Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you very much for all your questions. If you do have any more, please do feel free to email Robbie Batty or Paul Towner. You can see his details on the screen. We will also be sending you the slides of the webinar afterwards. And if you'd like to meet with us to find out more, please don't hesitate to contact us. Many thanks and goodbye.